The opening night concert of the Wilmington Symphony's 2024-2025 season features one of my favorite Beethoven symphonies, his seventh. It's a perfect example of what makes Beethoven Beethoven. But just what do I mean by that? Let me explain by focusing on the Seventh Symphony's last movement, which creates tremendous energy through the obsessive recurrence of a short seven-note motif. Here it is. And here is how Beethoven manages to make a melodic phrase out of it. 3 out of 4 measures in that phrase consist of the seven-note motif, and it turns out that this energy-packed seven-note cell is the motor that powers much of the rest of the movement. In addition to repeating it, sometimes Beethoven passes it around the orchestra. It is yanked into different keys. At one point, it is barely whispered by 4 woodwind instruments. One of the most dramatic examples of what makes Beethoven Beethoven occurs in the last dash section known as the coda, after the Italian word for tail. In the generations before Beethoven, composers like Mozart and Haydn were usually content to add at most 20 or 30 seconds of music that created a satisfying conclusion by reinforcing the home key. Beethoven's coda sections were far more adventurous and even dangerous because they sometimes veered sharply away into foreign harmonic territories right in the home stretch. In the final movement of the seventh, he reaches the home key with a resounding full orchestra rhythm that comes from the first 4 notes of the seven-note motif. However, the music suddenly lurches into B minor, and the seven-note motif is again passed around the orchestra. The home key of A major momentarily appears. We're going to stop the music at this point to have a closer look at one element of the texture. And in this section, it's all about the bass. From its high starting point, the bass begins to wander downward, as if descending into a deep tunnel. Several keys are vaguely suggested as the bass continues descending. It finally reaches the low E, and from here we begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The upper parts ascend until we finally reach the home key of A. By straying from the goal for such a long period, Beethoven has made the ultimate resolution even more exciting. Let's listen to the same passage again in Beethoven's orchestration, where you'll hear the seven-note motif driving the rhythm. As the orchestra gives out themes from earlier in the movement, the basses are still stuck on the drum. And now the orchestra tumbles over itself to a triumphant high point. Beethoven liked that trick so much that he decided to do it again. And that's what makes Beethoven, Beethoven. Join us in the Wilson Center on Saturday, October 5th, when we'll be joined by violinist Ava Kenny playing Mozart's Violin Concerto No. 5.